Wholesale versus flip versus long-term rentals. The ultimate beginner's guide to anyone trying to make $1 million in real estate starts by asking the exact wrong question. They ask, which strategy makes the most money? But here's the thing. The most profitable strategy could also be the one that bankrupts you. The right question, and the one that actually builds wealth, is which strategy is right for me right now? And that answer is probably not what you think. The path with the smallest paycheck is often the one that leads to the biggest wins. So, forget what you've seen on TV. We're about to pull the curtain back on the real risks and true potential of wholesaling, flipping, and renting to find out where you should actually begin. Let's be real. Trying to get into real estate is overwhelming. You'll have gurus on the one side screaming about flipping houses for huge paydays, while another camp preaches the slow, steady gospel of rental income. Then there's this group that is whispering about wholesaling, where you can supposedly make cash without ever owning a home. It's information overload, and it leaves you stuck. Not because you're not motivated, but because you have no idea which first step to take. Well, that confusion ends today. My name is Mark Maris, and along with my business partner Kyle Craig, we are the co-founders of Paragon Realty Advisors in Uptown Dallas. We are going to break down to 3 main starting points: wholesaling, fix and flipping, and buy and hold rentals. But we're not just going to stare at some shiny profit numbers. We're digging into the 4 things that actually matter for a beginner. How much cash you need to start, how much of your time will it eat up, the real level of risk you're taking on, and what you can realistically expect to make. By the end of this, you'll have a clear roadmap, and that's tailored to your money, your schedule, and your stomach for risk. First up, wholesaling. Think of yourself as a real estate matchmaker. Your job is to find properties that are beat up or owned by motivated sellers, people who just need to sell fast. You get that property under contract for a low price, but instead of buying it, you sell the contract itself to another investor, usually a flipper, for a fee. That fee, that's your profit. You're not selling the house, you're selling the deal. So, how does it stack up? Let's talk cash. This is where wholesaling is a clear winner for beginners. The barrier to entry is incredibly low because you don't need a loan to buy a house or a budget for repairs. Your main costs are marketing to find sellers and maybe a small earnest money deposit, sometimes just a few $100 to lock in the contract. If you're starting on a shoestring budget, this is your most accessible option. Now, for time. Wholesaling is fast. A deal can be wrapped up in just a few weeks, but all that work is front-loaded. You'll be hustling, marketing, talking to sellers, running numbers on deals, and building your list of cash buyers who can close. It's an active grind, not a passive income. What about the risk? Compared to the other strategies, the financial risk here is shockingly low. Since you never really officially own the property, you're not responsible for repairs, mortgages, or any of the other holding costs. Your biggest risk is that you can't find a buyer for the contract, and you might lose your earnest money deposit. But you'll never be stuck with a vacant money pit. And finally, profit. The trade-off for that low risk is a smaller paycheck per deal. A typical wholesaler fee runs somewhere between $5,000 and $20,000. You won't see those massive TV show-worthy profits. The goal here is volume. You can potentially close several wholesale deals in the time it takes to do one flip. But more importantly, wholesaling forces you to master the single most important skill in all of real estate: finding good deals. You learn how to analyze markets, estimate repairs, and negotiate like a pro. That education is priceless. Next up is the fixed and flipping, made famous by pretty much every home renovation show out there. The idea is simple: buy an ugly house, make it beautiful, and sell it for a big profit, all within a few months. This is where you get those dramatic before and afters, and if you nail it, those 6-figure paychecks. Let's run it through our 4-point check. First, capital. Flipping is a polar opposite of wholesaling. It's extremely capital intensive. You need cash for the down payment, all of the renovation costs, and the holding costs, loan payments, taxes, insurance, utilities. That stack up every single day you own the property. And trust me, you need a healthy cash reserve because surprise issues always come up. Second, time commitment. A flip is basically a part-time, if not full-time job. From purchase to sale can take months. You're not just finding a deal, you're managing contractors, overseeing construction project, and then steering the ship through the entire sales process. It is hands-on, and if you're not a good project manager, it can get messy fast. Third, risk. Flipping carries by far the highest risk of the three. You're betting on the market. If it takes a downturn while you're renovating, your profit can vanish overnight. You're betting on your budget. If renovation costs are higher than you planned, you're in trouble. Every day of delay costs you money. A bad flip won't just lose you money, it can be financially a devastating blow for a beginner. So why would anybody do it? Because of the profit potential. The reason people take this massive risk is for the huge reward. A single successful flip can net you tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes over $100,000. Pro flippers often use a 30% rule, meaning they aim to buy a property for 70% of its after repair value, ARV, minus the cost of the repairs. The payday can be huge, but it's also tied directly to your ability to manage a project, the budget, and the market. Finally, let's talk about the classic wealth builder, buy and hold rentals. Here you buy a property with the plan to rent it out to tenants. The goal isn't a quick payday, it's to create a steady stream of monthly income while the property hopefully grows in value over decades. How does it look through our beginner's lens? First up, capital. The entry cost is moderate. You'll generally need a down payment for a mortgage, typically 20 to 25% of the investment property. But here's a pro tip. You can get in with a lot less cash through house hacking. This is where you buy a multi-unit property, like a duplex, live in one unit, and rent out the others. Because you're living there, you can qualify for owner-occupant loans, like an FHA loan, which is 3.5% down payment, or a VA loan, which can be down to 0% down for veterans, which drastically lowers your barrier to entry. What about your time? There's a flurry of work up front to find the property, secure financing, and place a great tenant. After that, it becomes much more passive. You'll still have to manage a property, handling maintenance calls, collecting rent, and finding new tenants when one leaves. You can always hire a property manager for about 8 to 12% of the rent, but at the end of the day, you're still the one that has to be in charge of the investment. Now for the risk. It's moderate. Your biggest headaches are vacancies, where you have no tenant and no income, and nightmare tenants who don't pay or trash the property. Both can lead to negative cash flow, where you're paying out of pocket just to keep the property afloat. Also, unlike a stock, a rental property is illiquid. You can't just sell it in a day if you need cash, which makes it a true long-term game. And the profit? This is the get-rich-slow strategy. Your profit comes from two places: the monthly cash flow, rent minus the expenses, and a long-term appreciation as your property value grows and your tenants pay down your mortgage. One rental won't make you rich, but a portfolio of rentals built over time can create an incredible stream of passive income and build a serious net worth. So let's bring it all home. Wholesale, flip, or rent. If you're starting with little cash but have a lot of hustle, wholesaling is the undeniable best place to start. It forces you to learn the most vital skill in real estate, which is finding deals with the lowest possible risk. The cash you make from a few wholesale deals can be the seed money for your first flip or rental. If you have a pile of cash and the nerves of steel, a small flip could be on the table. But honestly, it's like learning to swim by jumping into the deep end and during a storm. For most beginners, that's just not smart. And if your main goal is long-term passive wealth and you have the capital for a down payment, starting with a rental, especially a house hack, is a fantastic proven path. But for the absolute beginner who feels stuck and overwhelmed, the verdict is clear. Learn to wholesale first. Don't get distracted by the big flashy paychecks of flipping. Focus on one thing, learning how to find a great deal. Master that skill, and you'll have the foundations to win with any strategy you choose for the rest of your career. It's not the sexiest answer, but it's the one that builds real, lasting wealth. At Paragon Realty Advisors, we specialize in helping investors find properties, whether it's wholesaling, a fix and flip, and or long-term rentals. If you find this kind of information helpful, please make sure you give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bell, and you will have access to all current and future content. And again, as always, make sure you leave us a comment below. We read every one. Thank you for joining us in this video, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. All the best.